Well, everybody, today we have a real great episode for you today because we're talking fishing reels. Specifically, I'm going to give you my pick for the most underrated spinning reel on the market. And then in the fishing poll today, you guys get to tell us who your favorite reel manufacturer is, but there's a catch. You can't say Shimano or Daiwa. So very interesting results there. And in the mailbag, we get to answer your questions about learning from live sonar, even if you don't use it personally, Abu Garcia, changing your old fishing line, and more on today's episode of Tackle Talk.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Dance, and you're listening to Tackle Talk.
This is the Tackle Talk Podcast, brought to you by The Rod Locker. Premium gear and expert advice from a staff you can trust. Now, here's your host, Andrew Hayes.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Tackle Talk Podcast. As always, we are brought to you by the great folks over at The Rod Locker. The Rod Locker, based out of Evansville, Indiana, is our favorite place to shop for our brand new or used fishing gear. They have an incredible selection of rods, reels, baits, line, everything that you could need, the essentials. They carry awesome brands. We're talking G. Loomis, Shimano, Daiwa, St. Croix, Dobbins, Megabass, Berkeley, Rapala, you name it. They have so many brands over there that we talk about on the daily here on Tackle Talk that you can get from great folks at great prices. And we've talked about it before, but the boys over at the Rod Locker have the nation's best selection of slightly used fishing gear. So you can go on there right now. They just did a huge dump of Megabass P5 destroyers, like an insane selection that they put over there that almost look like they're brand new, never used. They're very, very lightly used. These are very expensive fishing rods. I own one of them. It is my glide bait and my A-rig rod that I absolutely love, but they have these on sale marked down to like $365 for excellent condition Megabass Destroyer P5s. They've got all kinds here. They've got the Bait Finesse rod. They've got the Pop X rod. They have the Javelin on here. I'm scrolling through right now. So many different models that they have on the used site. They have the Jungle 7. They have the King of Baccarat. They have the hunting weapons, so many awesome rods that they just dumped over on their used section. And that's just one of the many brands that you can find. I'm just going to click here. I'm going to go to someone like G. Loomis. They have 52 used G. Loomis rods on the website right now. So definitely worth going and checking out over at therodlocker.com. And as always, you can use code TackleTalkFebruary. That's going to save you an extra 5% off your entire order. It's sales stackable. Use it on whatever you want. An extra 5% just for listening to Tackle Talk from the boys over at the Rod Locker, Tackle Talk February. And just keep in mind, obviously, as we approach the end of February, that code is going to change to Tackle Talk March here very soon. But right now, Tackle Talk February over at www.therodlocker.com. All right, really fast here. I mean, I'm going to blow through a couple housekeeping and news details before we get into the main portion of the episode. Yes, there is a lot of tournament talk on tournament scams going on right now with dual threat fishing and all of that type of stuff. Again, we don't really get into the weeds of that type of stuff here on Tackle Talk, but that is going on right now. There has also been an announcement of a very, very high-level multi-million-dollar tournament that is going to combine the top Bassmaster Elite Series anglers and the top Major League Fishing anglers, and I'm sure you guys have heard a little bit about that. Again, my sort of red flag radar goes off on that a little bit because we have been fooled one too many times on some of these big tournaments that come out of nowhere and have crazy promises. So I will save our talk on that for another day, as well as hopefully that gets a little bit more credibility as time goes on. But we do have actual fishing results to get to today. Most notably, the O'Reilly Auto Parts Stage 2 of Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour at Lake Hartwell this past week, February 19th through 22nd. So the boys went down to Lake Hartwell in South Carolina. So much fun to watch because of who ended up winning this, which we'll get to here in a second. But I do want to get to your top 10 in reverse order. 10th place, Justin Cooper. 9th place, Ott Defo. 8th went to Jacob Wheeler. 7th, Jesse Wiggins. 6th place, Spencer Shuffield. 5th place, Jacob Wall. 4th went to Banks Shaw. 3rd, Matt Becker. 2nd, Jacob Walker. And 1st place, Takahiro Omori. Takahiro takes your win stone cold out there throwing a chatterbait up shallow, dirty water, no forward-facing sonar, didn't use it at all. Obviously, everybody else pretty much is using it one of the 3 periods like you're allowed to in Major League Fishing. Takahiro is up there with like a white and chartreuse chatterbait, just chucking and winding and winning this thing just old school style. So very, very cool to see Takahiro Omori with his first Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour win. Obviously, he is no stranger to wins. He has plenty of wins in his career. He has amassed over $3.2 million in winnings. I believe he has something like 7 first-place finishes on the Bassmaster side of things back when he was with BASS. And the crown jewel of his career up to this point is the 2004 Bassmaster Classic, where he took home your win at Lake Wiley in North Carolina, beating out Aaron Martins in second place and Kevin Van Dam in third place. So quite the gauntlet to have to go through to win the 2004 Bassmaster Classic. But Takahiro Omori now has a red trophy to add with all of those blue ones that are already on his shelf, and just a very cool event to watch Tak win it old school style on that chatterbait. All right, so if we keep moving on here, other than that, I did see kind of a cool story. We talked about the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission starting their Legacy Lunker program not too long ago. I saw a really fun Facebook post from the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission that said, "What a weekend at White Oak." After securing Legacy Lunker number 7 with a 10.54-pound bass on Saturday, this gentleman that they're calling Pennington here returned to Lower White Oak Lake Sunday and nabbed his second double-digit bass for Valentine's Day weekend. This time, his catch weighed 10.11 pounds. The fish was weighed on certified scales before being transported to Joe Hogan State Fish Hatchery in Lonoke to swim with her lake mate in one of the hatchery's hog troughs. So really cool to see that that whole process has started and looks like it's going pretty well. It says, obviously, from just this post, now that we know that there are at least 8 legacy lunkers that have been caught down in Arkansas that are contributing to hopefully the future trophy potential of Arkansas bass fishing. So just wanted to kind of share that with you because I know we talked about that a couple weeks ago. But let's stop dilly-dallying here. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, which is fishing reels. And today, I want to pay respects to a reel that I think doesn't get the respect that it should. In fact, I think I am comfortable calling this the most underrated spinning reel on the market today. And put an asterisk there, obviously, because it's my personal opinion. But this reel that we're going to talk about today gets no shine. I feel like nobody talks about it. It gets completely overlooked. It's not in any flashy influencer videos, no crazy marketing campaigns, no clickbait videos. It just sort of flies under the radar. And it's sold in almost all major tackle retailers. It's from one of the 2 biggest brands in bass fishing. And again, I just think it's a criminally underrated reel. And even better, this reel comes in at under $120. It actually used to be $99 up until a few months ago, but still right now with all of the tariffs and increases and everything, it is $119. So it's a reel that fits that kind of budget-friendly price point that everybody is always wanting, myself included. Yet somehow, again, I feel like this reel gets no shine. So what I want to do right now, I want to pause and I want you guys to think about what reel you think I'm about to say. I want to see if you guys can guess it. What we know is it's under $120. It's a spinning reel. It's sold at most tackle retailers, and it's from one of the 2 biggest brands in fishing reels. So that should give you a pretty good guess. There's only so many reels that can be. So think of what I'm about to say, and we'll see if you get this right. The spinning reel that I think is just criminally underrated right now is the Daiwa Exceller. I would even bet that some of you listening to this have either never seen one in person or maybe have never even heard of the Daiwa Exceller. And that's a shame because I have used this reel for, I don't know, maybe a year and a half now. I saw it back at ICAST 2 years ago. Nobody was talking about it then. It was getting completely looked over. None of the videos were focusing on it, nothing. And that was a revamped version of the old Exceller, which I felt like nobody talked about either. And I remember picking that reel up and going, wait a second. This reel is $99 at the time. I was playing with it. I think I might have even mentioned to Chris from Daiwa at the time. I remember this very vividly, picking this reel up, holding it in my hand. I can't remember what the new kind of hot thing that year was. It wasn't the ballistic. It might have been like the new Tatula 100s maybe or something. But I remember looking and being like, why is nobody so excited about this reel? $99, this reel feels awesome. And to me, as I go to somewhere like iCast and I see a reel like that, that's way more important to me than a new ballistic coming out or something, because that's just out of my price range a lot of times. So I know that it's out of a lot of other people's as well. So I bought one when they became available, and I recently bought another one. And that repeat buy to me is a big deal because I love trying new things. I very rarely buy the same thing over and over again because part of the fun of fishing is trying out all of this new gear. But if I'm buying something more than once, it joins this pretty special group of tackle. So let's hit some specs here to start. I'll start with the marketing copy and then some bullet points about the features, and then we'll actually talk practically about some of the things that I like about this reel. So one description here says, upgraded with Daiwa's exclusive high-density carbon Zion V body, the Daiwa Exceller LT spinning reels are designed to accentuate the light and tough LT concept at an affordable price point while matching the performance of reels that are much more expensive. Providing extremely smooth retrieves utilizing 5 ball bearings and 1 roller bearing, each reel is designed with an air drive bail and rotor to efficiently disperse the pressure of the line and further reduce weight. Built with tough digi-cut gearing that allows for the perfect meshing between the main gear and pinion gear, the Exceller LT spinning reels efficiently and smoothly transfer power from the gears directly to the angler. Finished with a machine aluminum screw handle and ergonomic grips, the Daiwa Exceller LT spinning reels are ready to help you capture large, aggressive predators with a smooth starting automatic tournament drag system. So that was from one retailer. Now let's get to the notes straight from Daiwa. It says the all-new Exceller LT uses a carbon fiber body called Zion V. The new version is 3 to 5% lighter than the previous Exceller for comparable sizes. It also comes with an air drive rotor and air drive bail like our version of the Exist. We went with a solid bail wire for its rigidity and resistance to bending during normal use. The thinner, smaller wire is also lighter, which reduces the weight of the rotation, thus reducing the weight of the reel. Its machine aluminum handle is a comfortable, strong connection to the main gear of the spinning reel, and the retooled Exceller is extremely smooth, utilizing 5 ball bearings and 1 roller bearing for maximum performance. Now, the features here, if we want to go through them really fast that we talked about in a couple of those descriptions, the Zion V body, that is Daiwa's kind of like resin and carbon material that they make that body out of. Your keys here are that it reduces the weight of that overall body, but it also means that it's not a full metal body, so you sacrifice a little bit of durability there for weight reduction and for a lower price. Now, if you go to the air drive rotor, that's some of this technology that you're seeing in way more expensive Daiwa reels. I know the Daiwa Ballistic MQ has air drive. That's a $270 spinning reel. The Tatula Elite spinning reel has it, and that's a $370 reel. That new Luvius that they came out with last year, that very expensive finesse reel at $450, has an air drive rotor. So you see that with a lot of these big companies like Daiwa, Shimano, people like that. They pass down this technology from their more expensive models to more affordable models over time as like things get a little bit older. You can also say the same thing with the air drive bail. That's another technology that exists in Daiwa's $300 and $400 spinning reels. And again, basically it means you're trying to reduce the weight of that bail so that you reduce the overall weight of the reel is like the thinking there, I think. Tough digi gearing. So that just means like precision cuts on those gears, automatic tournament drag, machined aluminum screw and handle, so at least you do get a full metal handle, which is the part you're putting the most torque on, so that can be nice, obviously. But the big question here is, why is it so underrated? Why doesn't it get talked about at all in the Daiwa lineup? And the answer to that is I think that this reel does come with some trade-offs, and it has one big competitor in that same kind of price point, which I think leads to it being overlooked. So the Daiwa Exceller LT is currently priced at $119 for the 1000, the 2000, the 2500, the 3000, and the 4000 sizes. So a great price point all around, super competitive, but there is an 800-pound gorilla in the Daiwa lineup that is similarly priced, and that's the Daiwa Fuego. The Fuego is far and away a more popular choice for a spinning reel of these two than the Daiwa Exceller. I mean, the Daiwa Fuego is just kind of like the star of the affordable Daiwa lineup, and it has been for a long time. There's no question about that. I've had Daiwa Fuego reels before and I've loved them. I am in no way, shape, or form shaming the Daiwa Fuego because they're fantastic reels, both casting and spinning. But I think the Fuego overshadows the Exceller at a level that is still surprising to me. So how do these two reels compare? That's a really big question. Well, there are probably 20 ways that they're similar and maybe 2 or 3 ways that they're different. The similarities, there are a lot. I mean, they both have that Zion V body, the same air drive rotor, the same air drive bail, the same digi gear, the same drag system. I mean, they even have the same max drag. They're like specs all around are almost exactly the same, except for the 2000 size where the Exceller picks up a few more inches per turn. All of the other models, like the 1000, the 2500, 3000, the 4000, all pick up the same amount of line, whether you buy an Exceller or a Fuego. They're all listed at the same weight across the board. In a lot of people's eyes, these are pretty darn close to the same reel. But in my eyes anyway, there are 3 main differences between the Daiwa Exceller and the Daiwa Fuego. The first is purely aesthetic. It's the color. The Daiwa Fuego is that sort of black and red scheme. The Exceller, to me, is that clean-looking silver and kind of matte gray that I just love out of spinning reels because it goes with any rod that you have in your lineup and it looks classy. It almost has that kind of stratic look to it that, again, goes with everything. A silver and matte gray spinning reel is like a pair of blue jeans. You can wear it with any shirt. Same thing with your rod. A silver reel goes with any rod in your lineup. But the second thing here is that the Daiwa Exceller is actually $5 cheaper than the Daiwa Fuego. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but we're talking about basically $100 reel or right around it. So you're looking at like a 5% difference in price, which when you have a reel that is $100, $120, $5 is kind of a big deal. That's a big proportion of that reel's budget. 5%, 4%, whatever it is, that is the reduction in price that you're going to pay going from Fuego to Exceller. And then the third main difference is mag seal. That's your main difference, I guess, probably if I put like quote unquote main difference, is that the Daiwa Fuego is mag sealed. That basically means that that reel is sealed a little bit better to keep things out of the inside of the reel. Now, for all intents and purposes, that basically means that the Daiwa Fuego is a better choice if you're going to fish saltwater. If you need a lot of help protecting the inside of that reel from harsh things like saltwater, then the Daiwa Fuego is obviously your better choice. But here's the thing. I haven't, and never will use this reel for saltwater. I live in central Ohio. The only salt water around here is in my water softener. Like, it doesn't happen. We don't have salt water to deal with, which means that's not something that's really important to me when I'm picking a reel. So if we take that out of the equation because I don't need it, then these are essentially very similar spinning reels, but the Daiwa Exceller is priced a little cheaper, and I honestly think it looks better. So as much love as the Daiwa Fuego gets, I'm just very surprised that the Daiwa Exceller gets no love. And then if you go across the aisle, like to the Shimano side, I think your best comp on these reels is the Shimano Naski. Very similar stories and trajectories to these two reels. Both were $99 up until about a year ago. Both recently had a price increase. Both were recently revamped and remodeled. Both of them don't have a full metal body, but the Shimano Naski went up to $125. The Daiwa Exceller went up to $119. So the Exceller is still a little cheaper. And here's your big difference. The Exceller is much lighter. So let's take my favorite size, which is the 2500 size. That's my favorite size of spinning reel for normal bass fishing. The Shimano Naski weighs 8.46 ounces. That same Daiwa Exceller weighs 6.9 ounces. So the Exceller is 1.6 ounces lighter. That is substantial, 1.6 ounces. So if you make that switch from a Naski to an Exceller, that's about a 20% weight reduction. And to me, that's a pretty big deal. That can impact how that rod balances in your hand. And I say that fully knowing that I am a guy that loves him some Shimano Naskis. I love them just as much as the next guy, probably maybe even more. But the subject here is underrated. The most underrated, most under the radar spinning reel right now. That's what we're trying to figure out. And the fact that this is a reel, the Daiwa Exceller, that is a serviceable, respectable option from one of the two most reputable names in spinning reels, and no one is talking about it at all, is just kind of crazy to me. So my only complaint about the Daiwa Exceller is that the 2500 size comes with those T-handles on it when you actually, like, you know, the rubber piece that you put your hand on as you're reeling, which I don't love. I know I'm in the minority there. A lot of people love those T-handles. To me, I would just have that regular paddle on there, but that's something that's easy enough to switch out. And yeah, obviously you'd love to have a full metal body, but at $100 or $120. That's just not something that's super common anymore, so I understand that. At least you get a really nice light reel for the price that you're getting if you're not getting the durability of a full metal body. So today, my message is simple. I'm not trying to tell you that this is a must buy, or if you're using anything else in the $100 to $120 range, you're making a huge mistake. I'm just putting out a PSA that we need to put a little bit more respect on the Daiwa Exceller's name. It's a great reel. It's cheaper than the Daiwa Fuego or the Shimano Naski. It looks great. It fishes great. And in my opinion, like I said at the top of this segment, I think it might be the most underrated spinning reel out there right now. All right, next up here on the episode today, we're going to get into the fishing pole in just a second. But first, the Tackle Talk podcast is brought to you in part by Humminbird. No matter what you're looking for, if you need basic 2D imaging, you need down imaging, side imaging, or you want to go all the way to like live sonar or 360, whether you need a big unit or a small unit. I know we're just finishing ice season, but if you're looking for something for the ice or open water, Humminbird has you covered. With first-class features and technology like target lock, their mega line of products like Mega Live 2, Mega Down Imaging, Mega Side Imaging, Mega 360, Dual Spectrum Chirp Sonar, and so much more, Humminbird really is a one-stop shop for all marine electronics, graphs, and regular fish finders. Whether you have a $50,000 bass boat or you have a $200 kayak, you can add something from the Humminbird lineup that will make your fishing experience so much better. Big or small, simple or cutting edge, see for yourself why Humminbird is simply, clearly better. To learn more, you can go to www.humminbird.com. The Tackle Talk podcast is also brought to you in part by Minn Kota. Minn Kota has a full line of legendary freshwater trolling motors. I mean, you can have Ultrexes, Alteras, Tarovas. They have that new kayak Tarova that looks awesome. Being able to have spot lock on a kayak would be so cool. I'm definitely jealous of everybody that fishes this big water where you can just kind of spot lock all the time. I would kill to be able to spot lock in most situations in our like shallow, really fast rivers. Anybody that lives even remotely on big water, a kayak Tarova would be a dream. But Minn Kota has trolling motors that come equipped with all kinds of awesome features: spot lock, advanced GPS, sonar integration, and as we talked about a couple weeks ago, Minn Kota and Humminbird work together seamlessly. So if you have one, there's no reason not to have the other one because they are actually optimized to work together, to communicate together, to get the most out of the features of both of these brands. But wherever you need to go, Minn Kota can get you there. So for more information on the full line of Minn Kota trolling motors and shallow water anchors, you can go to www.minnkotamotors.com.
This is the Tackle Talk Podcast Fishing Pole. Brought to you by Minn Kota. Adventure awaits at minnkota.com.
All right, let's jump into the fishing pole this week. And this week we're staying on theme here today. We're talking fishing reels. And I wanted to have a little fun with this question and force people to choose an answer that isn't one of the easy two answers. So this week the question is, what's your favorite brand of reel? Pretty simple, pretty straightforward across the board, spinning and casting. What's your favorite brand? But there's a catch. You can't say Shimano and you can't say Daiwa, because I guarantee if we didn't make that stipulation, 60 to 70% of these responses would be one of those two brands. Honestly, it could be a lot more than that. It could have been just like nobody else even gets mentioned because of the landslide that it would be for Shimano and Daiwa. We get it. They're the top two dogs in reels, but I want to have a little fun here. I want to go beyond those two. Who else is one of your favorites? And that leaves a ton of options. We can talk 13 Fishing, Abu Garcia, Luz, Quantum, Okuma, Penn, Pfluger, Baits, Bass Pro Shops, Ardent, Seven Reels, Cast King, Piscifun. Like, there's so many brands out there. Spro and Dobbins are making reels now. There's a lot of companies that aren't Shimano and Daiwa that we should talk about. So that was the question to you. Who is your favorite brand besides Shimano and Daiwa for reels? And I'll give you my answer here. My answer, a lot of you guys are probably going to call me crazy here because I've always been a little bit of a hater of this brand. But the past few years, I really think Luz has started to win me back a little bit. I think top to bottom, entry level to high end, Luz has really stepped up their game a little bit in the past 2 to 3 years. Look at it from both sides of the spectrum. If you want to go high end, the Pro TI, the Custom Pros are both really interesting high-level reels. They've done some cool stuff with upgrading their braking system to that Paramag ITB that's in the Custom Pro. But then if you go down to the bottom end too, they have new reels like that new Excel casting reel that I think starts at like $79. And then I like that they give you the option of a lot of these lower reels to either go bare bones, like that Excel you can get for $79, or you can pay something like $30 more and you can get the Excel RX, which comes with a nicer Paramag RX braking system in it. They're giving you options on similar reels, kind of like when you're buying a car. You can either go base model or you can add a lot of extras to it. I like that aspect of what Luz is doing. Now, I do think they lack a little bit in the spinning reel department, but still, the Speed Spin is decent for under $80. The Speed Spool SRX, the Custom Light are both nice kind of mid to upper mid-end options. So I think Luz gets my next spot below Shimano and Daiwa. And then from there, I honestly think, I don't know, I guess I would probably go Bass Pro Shops, even though Bass Pro Shops are made by the same people that ultimately make, a lot of the reels for Luz or Abu Garcia, people like that, especially on the casting reel side. They're all kind of like OEM reels. And then on the spinning side, I think that a lot of the BPS reels are made, I think, by Daiwa. I could be wrong. I know it's changed over the years, but Bass Pro Shops, just like a lot of other companies that aren't Shimano and Daiwa, are manufactured by somebody else. Like they're not doing their own manufacturing. Usually, Doyo or one of those types of folks over in China, and then they're just kind of rebadged and sent over here. But it basically becomes a value proposition at that point. Who's giving you the best combination of those parts that they can order out of that catalog at the best price? And I think Bass Pro Shops does that pretty well. And then from there, woof. Like Pfluger, I guess I would probably go on the spinning reel side. I don't really love their bait casters, but Pfluger spinning reels are pretty nice. I guess I would go Abu Garcia and then maybe Cast King if I had to keep going. But I think my clear choice for my number 3 is probably going to be Luz. But let's see what you guys said. Let's have some fun here. And you guys probably won't realize this, but I'm actually going to pause the recording right now and go figure up the answers to these because I didn't want to look ahead of time. And because it's not multiple choice, I can't just pull it up in real time and read the results. So I'm going to go tally all these results and I will be right back. All right, I am back here. And by the way, I have to give a huge shout out to the listener that wrote into the mailbag during this week and said, hey, I heard you spent over an hour counting results by hand because they were all written differently last week because it was open-ended. And he's like, dude, that kills me to hear. You can just go to like AI and it can compile all of that data for you in like seconds if you import it, right? And I was like, no, I didn't know I could do that, but I'm glad I do now. So shout out to that guy because what just happened saved me probably about an hour of tallying results here this week. And I double checked some things. It's dead on. So that's going to help a lot moving forward for a lot of these open-ended questions. But this week, your winner was Luz. So we agree this week. That's exciting. That doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen nearly as often as I would think in a lot of these fishing polls. We often end up on opposite sides of things. But this week, we're on the same page. So your number 1 answer with 49.23% of the vote was Luz. An absolute runaway. It's not even close. Your number 2 answer with 16.92% of the vote was actually Cast King, a wild card there. I mean, I think we've done an okay job on this show of giving Cast King their flowers in terms of the strides that they've at least made in the right direction, I think. But boy, I didn't think they would be anywhere near number 2 on this list. That's a big surprise to me. Cast King number 2, and then number 3 was Abu Garcia. I don't hate that. A legacy brand, some great offerings. I just think that they're sort of losing their identity a little bit the past 5 to 10 years. And I can't tell you the last time I was really excited about a reel that Abu Garcia came out with. Number 4 on this list was Pfluger at 9.32% of the vote. A cool pick there. And number 5 was Bass Pro Shops with 9.1%. Kind of surprising. I thought Bass Pro would be a little bit higher. And then from there, we had Penn, which is kind of crazy to me, but a lot of you folks must live, I'm guessing, near saltwater, because I feel like Penn is a complete non-player in most of the freshwater circles nowadays. And then we had 13 Fishing way down at 4.62%. I think that's kind of surprising. I thought they might be a little higher. And then Piscifun at 3.12%. Geez, you have 13 Fishing and Piscifun separated by 1%. That's kind of crazy. Next was Baits at 3.08%. Then we had Quantum at 1.5%. You had 6 Gill at 1.46%. You had 7 Reels, which is that reel company from St. Croix, coming at 1.25. And then you had some oddballs like Dragonfly and Ardent and some weird ones down there. But here's the surprising part. These are the answers that either had anywhere from 0.5% to 0%. Spro, Dobbins, Quantum, Okuma, and Arc. Arc is so shocking to me. I feel like Arc should have been a lot higher on this list. That's one I'm kind of mad that I didn't really think about when I was talking about my picks. I probably should have put Arc up there. I might even put Arc above Abu Garcia. I feel like I would be more likely to buy a gravity reel than a Revo. So I'm surprised that Arc really lacked on this list. But our big takeaway here is that Lose was the overwhelming favorite, receiving almost half of all votes, 49.23%. And the next closest was like 16%. So a beat down by Lose, who takes your crown as the favorite overall reel brand outside of Shimano and Daiwa. All right, and finally here, we're going to jump into the mailbag in just a second. But first, the Tackle Talk podcast and the mailbag are brought to you in part by Amped Outdoors. Amped Outdoors is an industry leader in lithium batteries engineered and built for all types of marine applications. Whether you need a battery for a trolling motor, live sonar, regular graphs, kayak motors, ice fishing, you name it, Amped has a battery for what you're looking for. My buddy just built a full live scope setup for ice fishing. Amped had a specific battery just to fit the dimensions that he needed, the components, and the capacity that he needed for that specific shuttle. That's what you're getting from Amped Outdoors. With Amped, you're getting the highest quality components, you're getting waterproof case designs, and you get Bluetooth connectivity so you know when your battery is charging, fully charged, or how much power you have left on all of those larger batteries that Amped sells. So if you're getting a battery for your trolling motor or your kayak motor or something like that, no more guessing. All you got to do is pull up your phone and you know exactly how much juice you have left for that motor. And all of their 50 amp hour and larger batteries have heated charging standard so that you can safely charge those batteries in any weather conditions. You get all of that plus a 10-year no-gimmick warranty and world-class customer service, not based somewhere, halfway around the world. It's based in Hudson, Wisconsin. So you can head over to www.ampedoutdoors.com today to look at all of their battery options, their accessories, their chargers, all of that, and power your passion with Amped.
This is the Tackle Talk Podcast Mailbag, powered by Amped Outdoors, your source for premium, affordable lithium batteries.
All right, let's jump into the mailbag here. The first question I have today is from Kev, who says, how am I supposed to learn how to use new lures when every how-to involves the guy staring at his live scope screen and making adjustments off that? Oh boy. All right, we're going to start with a bit of a contentious one here. Okay, I probably should have rearranged these so I didn't start out with this one. But Kevin, I'm not going to take the bait on the live scope part of this question. No pun intended, I guess, not taking the bait. I just feel like I've gotten pretty good over the years of avoiding that. If you listen to Tackle Talk, you know that we try to keep both sides of that argument to a minimum. But you at least presented it in a way that focuses on the baits. And I will take that bait because I think there's actually a good point that you can make here. Even if you absolutely vehemently despise live sonar, like you think it's the devil, you think it's unethical, I still think you can learn a lot from it. So if I hated it, but I wanted to see the glass half full, which I know that most people on either side of that argument tend to not want to do, but that's okay. I would still look at the data that we're gathering from watching these fish on sonar and use that in my regular fishing, because that's no different than the data from, research studies or watching fish in tanks or any of that. Even if you think it's unsporting to catch the fish that way, the behaviors that we're learning and we're actually getting better at understanding these fish, you would be silly not to at least use that part of it. Because say what you want about the technology, we now know more about how fish react to certain baits and certain cadences and colors and depths. We know about where fish hang out, where they move to, all of that. We know more about that than ever before because it's unlocked a little bit of the mystery of what's going on below the water. So those how-tos that you're watching and you're talking about, yes, you're right. They're seeing something that you can't because you don't have live sonar. But if they're smashing fish in that how-to video, how are they working that bait? Is it fast? Is it slow? Are they killing it? Are they pausing it? What are they doing watching the fish on that screen? Like, just take the screen part out for a second. Watch how they're fishing. Because even if you don't know what's going on under the water, what they're doing above the water is getting that fish to commit. So you should take notes of that. Is the fish hitting it on the pause? Are they killing it? Are they pulsing it? What were they doing with that fish when it started to show interest, or when it started to chase, or when it committed, or when it turned away? So when I was learning to work a glide bait, for instance, I actually watched a lot of live scope glide bait videos, because I could watch and say, hey, the last 3 fish this guy caught in 45-degree water were on a long pause. Okay, noted. Emphasize long pauses sometimes. This guy, got one to come out of 14 foot of water and eat a glide bait. Noted. Don't be afraid to throw a glide bait in deeper water because of its drawing power. They will come up. I saw it on the screen. Without that video, I probably would have had very little confidence throwing a glide bait in anything deeper than, 6 to 8 foot starting out. So that helped me a little bit. There's a lot that you can learn from just watching those videos. Yes, I know that you might not like it. You might not like watching it. You might not think it's fair. You might just think it takes the fun and magic out of fishing. I'm not trying to argue with any of that, but what I will argue is that it's not useless. It teaches us a lot. It's just a matter of whether you decide to actually use that teaching tool as something that, you're physically using out on the water, or whether you decide to use the lessons that it teaches us to go out and fish without it. That's up to you. I'm not telling you which side of that argument to come down, but you can learn a lot by watching those videos. All right, the next question is from Callan, who says, what are your top 3 soft plastic paddle tail swim baits? Also, do you use lipless rattling crankbaits, and when do you use them? Okay, really quick, top 3 soft plastic paddle tails. Number 1, Big Joshy, easy. Number 2, I'm going to go maybe a Kitech Easy Shiner. And then number 3, really curveball here, I'm going to go an Eco Pro Swing Shad, because an Eco Pro Swing Shad is a very cheap substitute for Kitech Fat Impact. And then as far as lipless crankbaits go, yeah, I use them. I use them in spring a lot, almost exclusively in the spring. Cooler water, dirtier water, pre-spawn, post-spawn. I throw a lot of rattle traps and a lot of red-eye shads, man. Yeah, I love them. Next question is from Robert, who says, do you buy into the hype of red and orange lures in the spring? If so, what's your go-to lure for big females on beds? I do buy into the fact that it catches fish. I just don't know why it does. I can't remember, but part of me thinks we might have touched on this last week. If we did, I apologize. Maybe I'm just mixing things up here. But if we didn't touch on it, just go back and listen to our episode we did a few years ago on red baits. There's definitely something to it, but the question is whether it's special to spring or whether it actually just works all year long, but the amount of people throwing it in the spring goes up. Red bait catches increase in the spring because more red baits are being thrown in the spring. It's kind of like a chicken or the egg situation. Which one is the driver? Is it the bait, or is it the amount of people throwing the bait? That I don't know. I've heard a lot of theories, but nothing has really made me go, oh yeah, duh, that's it. I just feel like it's all speculation to me. I've heard, that a lot about the way the bass's eyes work. I've heard that craws actually change colors in the spring. But here's the thing. I do find red craws in the springtime, but they're always dead. And they're dead because of flooding and getting stranded where the floodwater was when it subsides. Dead craws often turn orange or red around here, but I've yet to see a lot of evidence of living craws actually turning that sort of red color enough to warrant that bait change color to me. So I don't know. I tend to lean on the side of, I just think more people are throwing it because it's popular, and so more people are catching them. The next question is from Derek, who says, hi, Andrew, longtime listener, first-time caller. Love the show and your positive attitude. Just a down-to-earth guy with a fishing addiction like the rest of us. What's the deal with Abu Garcia? I never hear you mention them, and I don't hear much about them being on other podcasts either. Are they an old-school grandpa reel, or are they just so big that no one needs to talk about them? Also, have you done an episode on Sinkos and why bass love them so much? They're literally a stick in the water, and I don't know what's going on in a bass's brain when they see it and go, yep, I'm gonna eat that. Off topic, but a fun fishing one here. Are you a gas tank is half full and need to fill up immediately, or ride until the gas light comes on and see how far you can go? I'm currently listening to your episode, and the gas light has been on for 20 miles, and I'm still giving her the beans. Thanks for all your hard work and everything you do. Derek from Minnesota. Derek, I appreciate you, man. Yeah, good questions. I say Abu Garcia, I think we talked about it a little earlier in the episode, obviously, but I think the thing is that the consumer is getting smarter and smarter by the year, and they're learning that Abu Garcia, Lose, Bass Pro Shops, Spro, a lot of those people that make those reels are all made in the same place. 50 years ago, before the internet and all this knowledge was public and really easy to find, that wasn't something that your average consumer knew. The guy walking in at the tackle shop didn't know that the same factory in China makes 80% of the fishing reels, and so they're all coming from the same place. So you should really just look at who's giving you the best combination of parts for the best price. Now, they do know that, right? A lot of people know that. Information travels so fast, and that's why your Daiwas and your Shimanos have a leg up, because they manufacture their own reels. They don't outsource that to the same company that everybody else does. So I think that leads to Abu Garcia having some issues, and a lot of those other people do too, because people look at them as just, they're kind of all one and the same. I'm just looking at price. I don't think Abu Garcia really does a great job on price, and they don't do a great job on the marketing side either. Senko's, I wish I knew the answer to that. I think it's just a size and a rate of fall type thing. Senko's sort of just look like a long, skinny profile, similar to the top or the bottom of a bait fish. So if a bait fish is dying and it's floating down to the bottom, you're probably on a horizontal plane really only seeing how thick that bait fish is. You're not seeing it from the normal side profile. So it's floating down kind of like a leaf does when it falls off of a tree. So from a distance, all you see really is how thick that leaf is, not the full profile of that leaf. So in my mind, that's kind of what I guess a bass sees from far away, is it looks like a dying bait fish falling on its side, and they're just getting that kind of, top or bottom profile of it. That's really all I can make sense of. And I just think that quiver of a weightless Senko on the fall is the key. And then I guess your gas tank question here, am I a half full and go fill it up, or ride the tank down to empty? I'm a run the tank down to empty kind of guy. If I'm filling up my truck, that means my gas light has been on for multiple miles. I mean, if you have like a can of pop and you drink half of it, do you immediately go to the fridge and get more pop to fill it back up so that it's full again? No, you obviously don't, right? You finish it and then you go get a new one. That's how I am with my gas tank, I guess. I finish most of my gas before I go get more gas. I just want to spend as little time at the gas station as possible. If you fill up when your tank is at half full, that means you're going to the gas station twice as much. I would rather go every 20 gallons than every 10 gallons. So no, I definitely run with the gas light on. All right, next question is from Finley, who says, is the Bass University subscription worth it? Oh man, that's a tough one, because I like the guys at Bass U. I like what they're doing. I think it's a great thing to try and teach people more about bass fishing and actually focus on that side of things than all of the drama, negativity, and crap that a lot of fishing media does nowadays. So I really like that side of it. But the hard truth is that I'm not paying for access to bass fishing content when there's so much of it out there for free. Now, I guess if you pay for a subscription to something like Bass U, then at least you know that it's been vetted a little bit and you're not getting all of that crap, but you can vet things on your own for free. So I don't feel like I need to pay somebody to do that. YouTube and the internet have everything that you could ever want to know about fishing at your fingertips for free. Back in the day, before this avalanche of free information was available, then yeah, something like that was probably worth every penny. But now I just think as time has passed, paywalls for information have also passed. So just being honest here, I probably wouldn't pay for something like Bass University myself, not meaning that somebody else shouldn't. I mean, I think if you do, that's awesome. You're getting a lot of great information. I am just a very frugal person, and I would rather sift through the information that is out there for free. All right, next question is from Tom, who says, hello from Ohio. What time of year do you think a chatterbait is best? I tend to use it from the start of first thaw all the way until first freeze, but I'm wondering if in your experience you have learned if I should throw cranks pre-spawn as opposed to chatterbaits. Hey Tom, yeah, always great to see a fellow Ohioan in the submissions here. Best time to throw chatterbaits. I actually do my best on chatterbaits in the dead of summertime. In spring, I tend to lean more toward those lipless crankbaits, those rattle traps, square bills. So to answer your question, yeah, I definitely lean a lot harder on crankbaits in that pre-spawn time frame than chatterbaits. But in the summertime, I love a good chatterbait bite. I love big worms, frogs, flipping, and then when I make my way to fall, it's a lot more, spinner baits, glide baits, jerk baits, things like that. So not to say that chatterbait won't work all year long, because it certainly can. I mean, you can probably catch fish slow rolling a chatterbait on the bottom in the wintertime if you wanted to, but summertime is my jam for chatterbaits. All right, and our last question here is from Adam, who says, hey, I was just wondering, when do you change the line on a reel? Is there any use in keeping old line around for other uses? Other uses? No, not really. I mean, I guess you could use it as backing if you really wanted to, if you're really trying to get thrifty, but I just use really cheap mono for that. But just changing my line in general, I am very, very bad about. If I change my line once a year, that's pretty good for me, because I have reels that I have had the same fluoro on for 2+ seasons now, and they're holding up just fine. I think the issue with fluoro is if I leave those combos out in direct sunlight or directly in the elements or in very, very fluctuating temperatures for a long period of time. So like in the wintertime, I make sure to keep my rods in the garage and not in my shed, because my garage stays a little bit warmer. In the summertime, I try not to leave my rods in my truck for too long, because the inside of your truck gets so hot. So I would rather keep those combos somewhere where the temperature is a little bit more stable. Like my garage is a pretty good spot, somewhere between 30 and 90 degrees. I think you're okay. You're not getting in like the crazy ends of the spectrum on either side, and I think that helps. But I can tell when a line is getting too old just by looking at it. I think that's how I decide when it's time to change, is the eye test. When that color starts to look horrible, especially fluorocarbon, braid, I don't really care too much about the fading of that color because it doesn't bother me. But on braid, I'm looking for more of like the fraying or decaying of that integrity of that braid. And you can see that over time as well. So keep an eye on that. But when fluoro gets like super foggy and it starts to turn almost like an off yellow, then I change it. Otherwise, I just send it and kind of hope for the best. If I have a bad day and I realize that it's getting too old or it's starting to cause breakage issues, then I'll change it when I go home. But I don't have like a hard and fast regimen of like, oh, every 6 months I need to change the line out on my reels. I just think that's overkill, and I think it's very, very wasteful and very expensive as well. All right, everybody, that is today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Tackle Talk podcast. As always, you can go over to the website right now, tackletalkpodcast.com. There you can submit your own mailbag question for your chance to be heard on an upcoming episode. You can also participate in next week's fishing poll by clicking fishing poll at the top of the page. And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to email me, tackletalkpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of that at Tackle Talk Podcast. And we'll see you right back here next Tuesday for another brand new episode of Tackle Talk.
Thank you for listening to the Tackle Talk Podcast. Tackle Talk is produced by Andrew Hayes. Copyright 2019. For more, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.